Hello and welcome back to another video. In today's video, this build is based on somebody else's design, as this is part of the 2025 Allspark assembly. So this guy is based on Yuletide from Mando's LEGO Transformers. Now I will say this guy is definitely out of season right now, but because it's one of the only original characters he's created, I didn't really have much to choose from. And if you don't know what the Allspark assembly is, it's basically where we have like one creative idea and then a bunch of LEGO Transformer YouTubers or designers come together to build that idea. So this year's one is an original character swap around. So you get randomly assigned someone and they have to build your original LEGO Transformer in their style. Now I will say the alt modes here are kind of boring as they are pretty much all just boxes, but I'd say at least here for the shaping it looks pretty good. And the stripe around the middle is quite nice, but obviously the end pieces are a little bit like rough. This present is the one that forms the arms, and this is definitely the weakest one, as it is a very unconventional shape. It doesn't really turn into a full box, and it's more just like a collection of limbs here. And one thing you may notice is I have swapped around the colours from the original. This is just because the original used quite a lot of green, and I don't really have too much of that colour, so I've just changed the colours around here. Now this present is the one that forms the torso, and is definitely my favourite one, as it is by far the most clean out of all of them. And I did include an all but symbol up top, as I feel like a Christmas Transformer, especially one that turns into presents, is always going to be an Autobot. You don't really see that as a bad guy. But anyways, it's now time for the transformation. So I'm going to start with the torso bot here. And the first thing you're going to do is swivel around the entire top half assembly. It's just on a stud. And this is going to give us the clearance to use a ball joint inside there. And this can rotate up the entire yellow stripe. Now using a jumper plate we can rotate around this section, which reveals the kind of port for combining him to the other bots. We can now collapse this back down and rotate around the Autobot symbol yet again, getting it back to its original position. And that just covers the ball joint up nicely. We can now come around to the head, and this assembly is also just on a ball joint, so we can take that down and then spin it all the way around. It then collapses back into the torso. And that's it for the torso. So coming to the legs, which is probably my favourite part, the first thing we can do is untab the side red pieces. This is going to allow us to use the knee bend, and they should just fold out. Just like that. We can then take those red pieces and just collapse them back in. So they do sit on the back of the legs. And now we can split the legs. And that's it for this guy. So now we're going on to the arms. The arms are probably my least favourite as they're not very great to transform, they're just a bit messy. But the first thing we do is separate them. And coming to this arm first, we can just take that white piece and it will fold around. And that yellow piece will fold down. Now coming to the other arm, we do the exact same thing. However, that black connector piece is just going to have to fold away behind the hand. And we can take this entire white 1x4 and just rotate around to the side. And because the joint is on the wrong side right now, we do need to use the hinge to rotate it up. And then it's on a jumper plate, so it will just spin around. Once this is done, it can collapse back down. And using the ball joint, we can rotate that yellow piece down, just to get the arm into place. Unfortunately, this arm does tend to pop off quite easily just because of the jumper plate connection, but it's not too bad. And once that's all done, we can take all the pieces and combine him into his robot form. So here he is, fully transformed. And in my opinion, for a Transformer that just comes out of a bunch of boxes, he looks pretty cool here. And yeah, if you do go back and compare it to the original Yuletide build, he is obviously a vastly different colour scheme, but I've already mentioned that. And I do actually prefer this color scheme, having the both white and red on all of the limbs. For some comparisons though, here he is with Blocky's Nemesis Prime. And here he is with Sideswipes. You can see he is just slightly shorter than your average deluxe. Getting him on the turntable here, you can see the Fool spin around. He does have some nice back detailing, but obviously most of this is just the exterior of the presents. I am a fan of the big Autobot logo in the chest though, it looks pretty cool here. And he also has quite large heels, allowing him to get into some fairly dynamic poses for what he is. I've also included ball joints for his shoulders, which the original did not have, so this guy's definitely more articulated than that original build, which is kind of what I was aiming for. As in the original, it was only a stud connection, so the arms could only rotate. So that is about it for this build. And I will say I have enjoyed this year's AllSpark assembly and getting to be part of it. However, if we're doing it again, I'd definitely not like to see this much delays in all the builds, as this guy was built around Christmas time. And I've been pretty much sitting on the video since then. So if I'm part of another one, I'd definitely like to see a set release date. But anyways, I do think this was a pretty good idea, and I'd be happy to do it again. And there should be a link to the playlist with all the videos in the description. And on the official AllSpark Assembly YouTube channel, there is going to be a compilation just showing all the figures and all the different builds. So yeah, hope you enjoy that.